All right, we're going to have a very instructive segment here on the concept of stochastic terrorism. Stochastic terrorism is something we've talked about many times before. The idea is that if you have a large enough audience and you put out radical ideas, you allude to drastic action or violence, that if your audience is big enough, it starts to become statistically likely that someone in that audience is going to take what you say and turn it into real world violence. One example is Glenn Beck years ago on his old program. Right-wing host Glenn Beck would constantly be ranting about the Tides Foundation. And his audience was big enough that eventually he actually convinced a guy to go and drive to the Tides Foundation with the goal of shooting it up. The guy was actually stopped, I believe it was by California Highway Patrol on his way, and said, yeah, Glenn Beck radicalized me. And that's why, we got to stop what these people are doing. One such organization that is doing this in a sense is this organization Turning Point USA, whose most prominent sort of spokesperson is a guy named Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk does not directly advocate for violence. And even in the clip I'm playing for you, he denounces someone in the audience who talks about using guns to kill these people. But what you have to understand is when you run a group like this and you do event after event with extremely radical ideas where you are telling the audience, the Democrats, the left, whatever, these are socialists, these are communists, these are oppressors, these are all these different things. These are all lies, by the way, that are being told. Of course, you are going to start radicalizing people in the audience who are eventually going to say, well, I should really do something about it. Some of those people will do something about it by voting. Some of them will do something about it by bullying people on the internet. And unfortunately, some percentage of the disproportionately gun-owning people in the following base of Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA may turn to violence. And that's exactly what we have an example of right here. We are going to play a clip of an audience member who loves Charlie Kirk, who says, hey, when can we use our guns to kill these people? It's not a euphemism. It's not a metaphor. He literally is saying at a certain point, like, when can we start shooting these people? And what I want you to listen to is when Charlie Kirk denounces it, he doesn't denounce it because he's morally against shooting political opponents. Maybe he is, but he doesn't say it. He denounces it because he says that would be playing into what the left wants and it would give them justification to be even more radical. That's why Charlie Kirk denounces it. Look, this is everything that is wrong with the American right wing right now. Let's take a listen. Let's take a look.
You ready? Yeah. You're brave. You're brave for what you say and the fact that you stand up there and say it, and I appreciate it. I think we all appreciate it, actually, because there's not a lot of people.
So big Charlie Kirk fan calling him brave. What Charlie Kirk does and says is just, it's silly pablum. But this guy says it's brave. Okay.
That have the balls to do it. But I want to ask you something a little bit out of the ordinary. So prepare yourself. At this point, we're living under corporate and medical fascism.
Now, that's not true. Okay, let's go.
This is tyranny. When do we get to use the guns? No, and I'm not, that's not a joke.
Now, a lot of the crowd cheers. And this guy says it's not a metaphor. He's saying it literally.
Look, I'm not saying it like that. I mean, literally, where's the line? How many elections are they going to steal before we kill these people?
So, no, no, hold on. No, stop. Hold on. Now, I'm going to denounce that. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay, so I'm going to denounce that, and I'm going to tell you why. Tell us, Charlie. Is it because it's wrong to do that?
Because you're playing into all their plans.
No, killing them with guns would play right into their plans, so we shouldn't do that. What about it being completely wrong and immoral and criminal? No, it would play into their hands.
And they're trying to make you do this. That's okay. Just hear me out. You started with a compliment, so at least give me a little bit. They are trying to provoke you and everyone here. They are trying to make you do something that will be violent, that will justify a takeover of your freedoms and liberties, the likes of which we have never seen. We are close to have, we are close to have momentum to be able to get this country back on a trajectory using the peaceful means that we have at us. So to answer your question, and I just think it's, overly blunt, We have to be the ones that do not play into the violent aims and ambitions of the other side. They fear, let me say this very clearly, they fear us.
This is a verbal trapeze artist. It's a contortion.
Holding the line with self-control and discipline, taking over school board meetings, they're the ones that are willing to use federal force against us. And I know that people get fired up. We are living under fascism. We are living under this tyranny.
No,
but
we're
if
not.
you think for a second that they're not wanting you to all of a sudden get that next level where they're going to say, okay, we need Patriot Act 2.0. If you think that, Waco is bad, wait till you see what they want to do next. What I'm saying is that we have a very fragile balance right now at our current time where we must exhaust every single peaceful means possible. I will say this, Idaho has not even started to exercise the peaceful means of state sovereignty against the federal government. Not even close. I'll give you 5 things Idaho could do right now. The governor of Idaho could sign an executive.
Okay. So Charlie Kirk is clearly smart enough not to encourage. He knows if he goes, you know what? You're right. We should just go and kill these people with guns. Let's kill our political opponents with guns. He has no choice but to denounce it, which he did. And to the extent that he deserves credit for that, okay, he denounced it. But he's not saying don't go and kill people with guns because it's morally wrong. He's not saying don't go and kill people with guns because that's actually the problem in the United States. That, I talk about we have a unique cultural problem in the U.S. where there are people that see guns as a solution to political problems and to interpersonal problems. This guy's the perfect example. He's saying, listen, they stole an election, which they didn't. We're now under fascism, which we're not. So we should go and we should solve those problems by killing people, shoot them dead with guns. This is the prototypical American that embodies the cultural problem we have with guns in the United States. Charlie's not saying that's not what guns should be used for. He's not saying it's morally wrong. He's not saying that's criminal. He's just saying it would backfire. It would it would justify them becoming even more fascistic. In fact, Charlie agrees with the guy and saying we are living under fascism. So even what the guy identifies as a problem, Charlie agrees with and says we are living under fascism. But the problem is if we go out and kill them with guns, not that it's wrong, not that it's immoral, it'll just justify even more of their fascism. Now, there's another interpretation of Charlie Kirk's answer, and this one is the cynical one. This is the grifty interpretation, which is Charlie Kirk doesn't really believe any of what he's selling, okay? He doesn't really want to change anything. He doesn't want real action. He doesn't want resolution. He wants to be perpetually on the edge of boiling over and continue holding these events so that the business model perpetuates itself. And nothing really, like, if you really solve the problem, right, whatever means you use, as he says, no, we're gonna go do the school boards, and then we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna solve it. Well, then there's no more Turning Point USA. There's no more angry people going to these events and saying we got to fix the fascism. If you fix the fascism, there's no more people who will show up and say, Charlie, help us fix the fascism because you've dealt with it. So the other cynical interpretation of Charlie denouncing the shooting people dead with guns is, no, but then that'll hurt my events. But the problem is people hear there is fascism and they don't hear Charlie say it's wrong to shoot people. They just hear him say, well, it wouldn't be productive towards our cause. And then it has that stochastic terrorist effect. And think about it. This guy who asked the question said he thinks Charlie Kirk is smart and he thinks Charlie Kirk is brave and he wants to shoot his political opponents over non-existent medical fascism and non-existent election theft. And he's not being told that it's wrong. He's just being told it wouldn't be good strategy. Well, he might just disagree on strategy, or maybe someone else in the audience does. Now, probably the FBI should have a look at the guy who asked the question. Does that guy own guns? I would assume almost certainly yes. What's going on with him emotionally? Is he stable? Is he likely to do something? That's someone who, in all seriousness, should be on the radar of authorities, of law enforcement authorities. When they tell you what they want to do, we should listen to them. And this guy is telling us exactly what he wants to do. He wants to solve problems he wrongly believes to exist, like that of a stolen election or medical fascism, by shooting people dead. Law enforcement should listen to that, and then they should investigate it. If you follow me on social media, you know I love growing my own food in my backyard garden, and our sponsor, Lettuce Grow, has made growing food at home simpler than ever. The Lettuce Grow Farm Stand is a vertical stand that can be inside or outside, where you can grow over 200 varieties of fruits and vegetables. The farm stand waters and fertilizes itself. It does all the work for you. You can grow up to 36 plants at a time. Lettuce Grow sends you the seedlings, and then your food is ready to eat in 4 to 6 weeks. I've had a great experience with the Lettuce Grow Farm Stand. I've been growing delicious tomatoes, strawberries, eggplant. It only takes up 4 square feet, fits anywhere. I can move it around, very, very easy. Growing your own food is so rewarding. Lettuce Grow makes it easy for anyone, and Lettuce Grow is giving my audience $50 off the farm stand. Just go to lettucegrow.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman. The link is down below.